getting that ready for prime time, and it's in really good shape. We've got avatars, hexagonal avatars in there with name and team information and drag and drop handles and all sorts of things, styled with where I'm trying to do the things that I know aren't going to be controversial, and saving for later the things that may be subject to debate and feedback from the team and the designs. So really happy with how that's shaping up. Also continue working with Val on other parts of the UI. He's submitted several PRs this week that I've reviewed, and really good work there, Val. Also working with John, getting him up to speed on UI work. John has been working mostly on the video POC stuff, specifically Mesh WebRTC. But now we're kind of folding him into the UI team. We've moved our UI stand-ups to the afternoon so he can join us. And he drank from the fire hose on, I think it was Wednesday or Thursday, and is now studying all of that so that he can also dive in full force as a UI contributor there. So it's been a very busy week, a very satisfying week. I feel like we're getting lots of good traction. And I'm excited to see how this all continues to come together. As of last week, I ranked 6. That's it for me. Over to Gregory.
Oh. I didn't say I ranked 5 last week. I ranked 5.
Okay. Thank you all. My name is Gregory Wexler. Hi, Eric. I am a full-time Fractally engineer, if you haven't already guessed. And today I am broadcasting from the fabulous city of Las Vegas. Oh, it's just the drapes behind me, but you'll just have to believe me. So the contributions that I'm going to share are both the contributions that I've made personally as well as those of my team. So with regards to the personal contributions, about 2 weeks ago, I was involved with the UI design with both Brandon and Mike to enhance the practice of fractal governance, which means the meet and greet, contribution phase, and consensus phase. And our goal was to make something that was very easy to use and apply on both a desktop and a mobile interface. And I think we've come up with a really good solution. I've done some coordination with Dan Larimer in getting him prepped for the code conference, which he will appear virtually. This is a conference that will take place in Korea and hosted on behalf of the Creative Commons of Korea. As you might be aware, I'm a co-host of the Go Fractally meetings with Joshua, and I also participate in managing the Go Fractally platform and the creation, management, and tally with Joshua on the rank and respect sheet that we do. There's a fair number of posts that I've made now on the Go Fractally platform regarding fractal teams, discovering consensus, and what it would mean if you wanted to be a member of 2 teams. Certainly not in the same fractal. It is possible. As far as contributions of our Fractally team, they include this, as Mike brought up, the recent dispute resolution process. We had a discussion about branding for clarity for the community. I've had discussions with Dan and Anna on blogging management and cadence. We've also pioneered the concepts of fractal governance as seen in the Fractally white paper and the book More Equal Animals. We've talked about some other things that we've been contributing regarding this new chain that we're building. I can say that we've made some incredible breakthroughs, and I'm excited to see that those get shared with the community soon when we're ready to release. As you know, we're all of us in the Fractal team are working full time to bring a real world application to the community. And as Brandon pointed out, not only this week was great, I think the last several months we've made some pretty incredible strides here. So I ranked number 5 last week. Thank you. Eric?
Hey, last week was my first time, so in preparation from that, I had finished the More Equal Animals book twice. I was going through my third time, about halfway through that. So I did finish More Equal Animals for the third time and moved on to the Fractally white paper. And I forwarded the More Equal Animals to three people and had discussions with probably did more, but three main people. I invited two people to this meeting. I don't think they showed up today, but that was because they're doing another thing that I'm going to talk about, which is also good. I'm for those that don't know me, I spend about a third of my time doing doctoral research for strategic business management, about a third of my time turning that into building real and virtual communities, especially in terms of affordable housing, and about a third of my time promoting and creating learning platforms. I'm learning design for the metaverse. So I started seeing if I can take my doctoral work and combine it with what we're doing here. And I talked about two communities. So I talked to the Jacob Center, which Jacob Center for Neighborhood Innovation. If anybody doesn't know it, it's a group that said, let's take the worst neighborhood in Southern California, develop it, and actually turn it over to the neighbors so they own it. Crazy idea. So we're saying, is there something we could do fractally with them? That's one of the people I forward the book to, is the guy in charge of economic development for the Jacob Center for Neighborhood Innovation. If you want to look it up on the web, it's pretty interesting. And you can see they're about to develop about a third, the last third of their space, which is retail and housing. And so I talked to them and said, can we have discussions about actually coming up with something? I didn't mention fractally. I talked about governance and coming up with that and forward More Equal Animals, but that's the idea. The other thing, we were approached to talk about developing a community in Mexico with it's about 30,000 plus acres. And so I talked to my two partners in crime about that and said, can we talk about not just building buildings, but building a community? Because that's something we have experience with co-housing and things like that. Those two people are in Mexico. That's probably why they didn't return. They're actually having that discussions to say, what can we do? And can we at least shape the discussion to talk about building more than just houses that people go in, but building a community. As far as building the metaverse, I started coming up with a Building the Metaverse podcast for the university. I've got 2 sponsors of that, so I added another sponsor and maybe having a big sponsor, hopefully. We've talked to them verbally, so that would be like 700,000 plus names on that. Dwayne Phillips was the one who invited me to this, so I asked him to be one of the first guests to speak about this. It'll probably launch in next month or the month after, but we had a discussion this week about actually turning that on to a reoccurring segment, building the metaverse to promote that. So that's what I did, just being a newbie.
And how did you rank last week?
3.
All right. Solid first week.
Solid first week. In a much tougher audience this week. But and in listening to you guys, I just listen not knowing a lot in 3 areas. One is promoting interaction with the framework, whatever people are doing right now. 2 is communicating this to other people. And 3, prep for future growth. I don't know if that's right. I'm just saying that's how, when I was listening to you, that was the model that I was looking at.
Sounds awesome.
One other thing
too, for whatever it's worth, Eric, I love the work, and I lived in Chile for a little while and love the idea of neighborhoods that function by these principles. So that's pretty exciting work.
The Co-Housing Association, U.S. Co-Housing, has about 250 communities, some of last 2 decades, which means new people coming in and leaving and still maintaining communities. So wow. A lot of that has been lessons learned from there.
That's awesome.
Nice.
All right. I have one other question also before we start ranking. We're supposed to express views on this dispute resolution procedure and the logo as well?
I think
I
if we
don't
have
know.
time.
Yeah, was that in the final document? I didn't see that piece
I,
on the
I, th-
post.
I think we're
Dispute
essentially
resolution? Yeah.
implicitly delegating our vote to whoever we rank number 6. If we have some time at the end of
Yeah.
this, we can discuss and try to have that factor into their judgment.
Yeah.
But
Let's rank
Right.
first, though.
yeah.
Who'd like to propose a rank 6?
I have one more thing to mention before we do the ranking, just that you all might find cool, which is that the Eden community, I don't know if any of you followed this, but the EOS Eden community started a Fractal. So I was also involved with them, still in Eden, and helped them kind of kick that off the ground, and discussed with Dan, and he approved my producing a token contract for them. So they actually have an EOS token contract that I produced that yesterday distributed the first round of Eden tokens according to Fibonacci from our first meeting, which happened a few days ago, which was pretty cool. Yeah.
Is that using the Eden treasury? Like it's replacing the Eden with the Fractal?
It is purely just member. There's no like official acknowledgement from the chief delegates. It's just a couple members love the Fractally process and want to do it. I'm more interested in it than Eden as the original organization. So I'd rather
the tokens are EOS, or the tokens are a custom community token?
There's a custom community token which
Okay.
was named Eden, but also actually it's being sponsored by Chuck McDonald, who was a chief delegate. So he's and also Dogman, Dan Singjoy. So they're sending EOS into the contract, and it's also splitting a fixed amount of EOS by Fibonacci, and also rewarding EOS to participants as well. So it rewards Eden and EOS. So
That's awesome.
It'll be a cool experiment.
Cool.
Thanks.
How do you guys want to do it? Have you done like the I've liked just posting in the chat if you have an idea for who you want to rank 6, and then we discuss when there's disagreement. What do you
We
guys
could
think?
do that. The other thing that might be relevant for us is selecting 2 people at random to propose. And it depends how willing people are to propose. So maybe we start with the chat and add that if needed.
Yeah. Yeah.
All right,
I don't know.
let's try the
Just
chat.
on the chat.
Rank 6.
All right.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh my.
Nice.
All right, well, Brandon leads that vote.
All right, we got to revote.
Yeah,
We're
I
just-
suppose- anyone not aligned with revoting for Brandon as rank 6?
No, that works.
All right.
Putting Eric at 6, which is who Brandon voted for, could also be interesting.
Yeah, I
That's
thought that would be really
Um,
interesting.
I think it's a fun thing to do. So, I mean, raise your hand if you want to put Eric at the top, just to make this a fun week. Give him a really solid
Yeah.
entry to the meeting process.
That's always.
I think I would vote for that. Yeah.
All right.
The,
So, Eric followed by Brandon.
Yeah. Do people agree with Brandon at 5? Do we want to discuss that, or?
I'm aligned.
I'm
Thank
aligned.
you guys.
Yeah, that's fine. This
Cool.
what I looked at, there's some really interesting things in terms of stuff people can do right now, and then in terms of spreading the communication, and then in terms of, planning for the future. So there was a lot of interesting things people were doing, like Mike prepping for actually getting to go this week with the blog and the UI, drag and drop, that stuff that has a longer term. And So those ones that I were looking at is some people were really focused on long term, some people were focused on right now, and some people were focusing on communication. So it was really interesting to see that blend. To me, there were three that balanced all those really well and some that got individuals.
That's cool feedback to hear that. That's kind of validating of the mix of the skill sets we've got on this team. Thank you, Eric.
Yeah, it's unclear to me how to relatively value the contributions that our Fractally team is making to Fractally. So I'm looking for like the external things, and so the reason I put Brandon at 6 originally, and now I'm happy to put him at 5, is the inviting of another member. We kind of like was a one way to distinguish his work that we're all doing for the Fractally team.
To me, there was the end meeting design. That is something that has long-term and big impacts. The second thing was the drag and drop, which has like immediate more. So that's why Brandon was close to me for the top, because he's saying, look, here's something that's going to affect what we do now, but here's something that's going to have big impacts as we move forward, for a long time. But I was also interesting about that Eden fractal. That's kind of interesting to me too. But Mike, in preparation for this meeting, getting the blog and things like that, I think that had some very interesting things for stuff that we're already experiencing. Right now we're talking about it.
All right, so let's rank 4.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
Oh, it's neck and neck. Let's see, James.
Oh.
Looks like James has the advantage. Who's aligned with realigning their vote with James?
The EOS fractal
You said revolt?
was big for me.
There might be a little bias in posing that question and posing it to aligning with me first.
I think that
I'm fine with it.
Yeah, I think that the thing that I like about ranking James is that we have a second experiment going in parallel, and that's going to yield all sorts of new information and feedback, and it's even experimenting in some other unique ways. So I think that's highly valuable.
Yeah, agreed.
Yeah.
All right, so James, I'm just curious. What's the quick on what's the bias you were pointing out?
If you pose like if you had said instead who wants to realign the vote with Gregory or something like that, and you ask that first, there's like just by asking it first, people are just like, oh, okay, I guess I'll do that. You know what I mean?
It's kind of like when you put it out a ballot, the first name on the ballot always has a
right. It's just
bias.
the order, like anchoring people to a particular outcome.
All right, cool.
I'm
Since we're here to test
aware
this
of what-
system, I'm gonna play the part of Eve and challenge it by being biased. Different form of challenging it, but I'm gonna ask it the way I originally asked it. Who would like to align with James as rank 4?
Yeah, I was already thinking that way anyway.
James, you already voted rank 4. Val and Gregory? Actually, I guess that gives us our numbers, doesn't it?
I'm well aware of what James should do. Yeah.
All right, cool.
This is hard. Everybody is just really great contributions. So
Yeah.
I don't know how representative this isn't a perfect science, but hey,
Yeah.
we average over time.
But
Yeah, exactly.
I'm a university professor, and we have these big arguments. So we come up with rubrics to say what do you even look at.
Yeah. All right, let's pound through our last 3. Gregory, you want to put our rank 3 label up there?
All right. There we go.
Brandon, you want to count us down?
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. We have a pretty
All right.
solid read on Gregory.
Thank you.
Actually, we have consensus on Gregory.
Yeah, I am very happy to also rank Gregory at this rank. It's just so freaking close.
Yeah, it's
I don't know what metrics to even use to distinguish people, really.
All right.
Imagine me as a newbie. It's really hard.
Except that Val asked to be last, basically. So
Yeah, I'm totally
just give him what you want, Val.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right, Brandon.
5, 4, 3, 2, 1.
All right. There we go.
All right.
All right. Lastly, why don't we drop these in the
We
in
need
the-
the hive names.
yeah, drop your name in the chat in order. So Eric, could you drop your hive name? Okay.
I also just renamed my Zoom name there, so you can see it, which anyone can also do.
I should drop it in the chat just so they're easy to grab.
Yeah.
So then,
And Val, drop. Actually, Val's Val, isn't it?
Yes.
Yours is the one that's easy to remember. Val, why don't you drop your name in the chat just to be thorough?
Yeah, this is what you usually do when a new platform is launched. You name squatting
Yeah.
some of your names. So this is what I did with Steam.
And the post. Where's the post link?
Let me
don't
check.
think it's been good.
All right. Well, looks like June. Yeah, June 11th. Here it is. I'll drop it in the chat.
Oh, it's
Okay.
two of us have already dropped it in the
Oh.
chat.
Oh, it's already. There you go.
It's like not paying attention to Google auto completing what I wanted before I even knew what I wanted to type. All right, I'll drop my vote there. Is that the right one? There's so many comments already.
Yeah.
Yeah, wow.
So I guess we have some time. We can talk about the proposal. I think we all. So I guess Eric, you're going to be representing this group since you were rank 6. Did you see that proposal that was posted on Hive?
Yep.
What are your thoughts?
I think they covered most of I think a lot of the hot issues got discussed just as we were getting ready to come in here. The two things are the proposal itself, and then they talked about the logo. How do we separate those discussions? Because they did bring in the logo in, and they said, here's how we make consensus. So how do we break up that blog post?
I would propose Dan had suggested or mentioned that the community could propose alternatives and variants. I also, while Dan said everyone could be in the same meeting because we're small, there are people who aren't here this week. So I'd like to give the logo time to be seen and challenged and whatnot. So if it were me, I would propose don't reject accepting the logo as official this week for a revote next week. And then dispute resolution, I'm for in this form. I think there are caveats we can add over time, but having an official process where we can come to consensus, I think, is really important.
Well, normally, having been a marketing guy for 3 decades and designed and approved lots of logos, normally what you do is you throw out ideas and you have people put in several logos. And then you start saying, well, let's narrow that down. And you either get one that stands out, or you say, well, I'll take the element from this logo and put it in that logo.
Yeah.
So it's not bad. But
I think we can do better.
I think I agree.
Personally, I would like to see this Fractally F, first F stylized, something stylized. This F.
I just don't like the name Genesis Fractal, so I don't know why we're like marrying the logo to that name, because that just seems like such an interim name for a community. It's like very descriptive. I don't know.
Yeah.
Well, to me, Genesis says start, and there wasn't anything in that logo that implies start and ongoing. So for me, I'd say, how do you come out with the idea that this is where it starts, but it never ends? It's not something that goes away. So, I was even thinking put a start point in the circle and draw an arrow, but I'm just brainstorming.
I happen to really like it. It says go, which I think is really cool.
I like that too.
And also I'm inclined towards action. So I know that if I were representing the group, I would blindly and hurriedly usher it through so we can move on to bigger and better business. But that's just me.
And here's the other factor of that. Is this a logo that we expect to be around for 20 years, or is this something you can change? Because
you can change it at any time.
In the organization we were $1 billion software company, and we made 3 changes while I was there that didn't change it that much, but they were, so we can tweak it. So I think it needs to come with a parent organization. If you're going to have a group, you don't want to change it. You also don't want to make it too busy.
So we're down to about 3 minutes. It sounds like we certainly don't have consensus to approve the logo, so we're aligned with at least putting it off a week.
Mm-hmm. I'm aligned with leaving it up to Eric's discretion, because I've understood from what he's said that he understands the issue well enough.
I think the logo is pretty good. I think if they went through it wouldn't kill us, but I also agree with Mike that it wouldn't hurt to give people a week to put in their own proposed changes. If anybody wants to submit their own tweaks, maybe we get none, then it's easy. You go with what you have. I think
so.
Maybe it needs to be changed a little bit.
If we're aligned on that, let's get to the dispute resolution, because we're running out of time really fast. Anything?
It's not really dispute resolution. It's just like consensus on anything.
Right. Reaching consensus without consent.
Yeah.
Anybody have any concerns about it? Actually, let's do that this way. Approve. Who's ready to approve it?
Huh?
All right. Well, that makes that easy.
Cool.
Any notes that Eric should take with him to comment along with the approval?
I guess what are the objections he's likely to hear? I think the objections that people brought up in the pre-meeting are the objections you're likely to hear in your consensus meeting. So I think one of them that people were saying repeatedly was that the lower ranks are not directly able to propose anything. And I think the solution to that is what Dan said, which is makes sense to me, which is that it's not that you can't submit a proposal if you're a lower rank. It just means you need to find a higher ranked person to second your proposal. That's like a key distinction there.
And all you need is one person to say it sounds like a good idea. So it's
right.
a very limited screening process. It'd be one
right.
thing if you had to go through 3 boards and all that. But
it's a simple
one other person.
Yeah.
Well, and if you're circulating the proposal and you're getting community consensus, a rank 6 is just one of those people you've caused consensus with beforehand anyway. So I definitely don't see that as a barrier.
I don't either.
Any other concerns or commentary we want to leave Eric with? I think there's a potential for a whole lot of suggestions on tweaks and numbers and specifics. I have a pile of them myself, but I also think the process is sufficient as is, and it'll be supplanted by the white paper's council at some point. So I'm not terribly concerned about it. We're
And
just
Yeah.
a small group.
at any time, someone can issue a proposal to modify.
Right.
And the big thing with these things is you really need to put something into test. I come from a startup community where we test. How fast can you test and fail? If you fail fast, it's really good. So if it doesn't work, can we change it? And that was my first question is, if this doesn't work, then what happens? That was my first thought. And it's like, okay, well, then you propose something else. Okay.
Agreed.
Yeah. You know, another note, it looks like for other fractals to reach 12 teams, it will be pretty rare. I think 90% of fractals will not reach this threshold, so they need some other consensus, right? And yeah, we need to really address this and do it right, because it's more difficult to change it later than now. All right.
Yeah, I think we'll have our work cut out for us to get this version of the process ironed out. Reminder, right? We're in founder phase, so we don't need this process. The founder could act unilaterally up until there's a council, but a suggested alternative, if the founder is willing to relinquish power early, we should probably get this as ironed out as possible, because I doubt we'll be the last ones to use such a process.
Okay.
All right, guys, it's been awesome. Eric, good to meet you.
Hopefully I can use it in a dissertation. So
Yeah.
Nice.
Eric, where are you located?
San Diego.
San Diego, cool.
Nice. I love that city. All right, see you guys.
Bye-bye.
Bye, guys.
Recording in progress.
Welcome back, everyone. Hope you guys had fun.